All right. Welcome to the Artcasters, and I am totally forgetting what number of Artcasters.
Oh yeah, nothing. Nothing. What are
We
you
have a
doing?
guest.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay, they're here. How's it going, Jim?
Good. We've been talking for 45 minutes, and then we decided to share it with everybody else. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We're pretty stoked to have a special guest. We kind of mentioned them early, but as usual with the format, I'll kind of have us all introduce ourselves and tell people where they can find us, check out our work. So I'm the host tonight, and you're on my channel. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit that bell, and then you can check out my work at joshuakimball.com. Order this book. That's pretty much it on Amazon. And Cory, where can everybody find your work? Check out your animations. And
I am Scott Strickland, and you can find my work. You can find my stuff at corykerr.com.
Yeah, and then
.com.
Yeah, corykerr.com. And Cory was nice enough to sub in. Scott is out for the day, for the week. So he kind of was like, hey, can we get Cory to sub in for me? And Cory very kindly hopped on, which is actually perfect because our guest for tonight.
I agreed to it before I knew Jim was going to be on. And then it kind of is like, oh, I guess I can't back out now.
Yeah. You're in it for the long run, Cory. And then I thought it would be cool to have Jim on. Jim Lujan, animator, cartoonist, just kind of brilliant one-man art studio, animation studio. And I just thought it would be cool to have you on because you're wrapping up, like, sort of editing together this series of Lars Lazarus. And it's this, well, I mean, you can probably describe it better than I can, but it's a comedy series that you've been airing. You fully animate and kind of create all the components for, I think, other than maybe a few of the voices, but you do the majority of the voices, which is insane.
Or backwards, or I just do a couple of voices and have a bunch of friends do voices on this one.
That's true.
So.
But it's just like really impressive, and you've been serializing it. It's just really funny and great, and just like full of that like thing I think we've all grown to love about your work and stuff. And it's cool to like kind of see it all stitching together and coming together as like a whole feature film. But also, I thought it would be cool to have you on just to talk about that because it's just kind of astounding how you're able to do that. Like your output and stuff as an animator is always impressive, but like how you're able to kind of make time to like fully animate a feature is really pretty amazing. And it's not the first. It's like I think the third you've done like fully on your own, or maybe I'm under saying that, as well as like the 20,000th cartoon you've made, but it's so anyhow, I just thought it would be cool to have you on to kind of talk about that, how people can go about doing that, how you go about doing that. But before, I guess I'm kind of jumping ahead. So why don't you let people know where they can find your work and a little bit about like Lars Lazarus, I guess.
Well, thank you, Josh. And Cory, you've turned into a drawing. I don't know what happened, but
that happens occasionally. I actually don't make these. I just do these. So yeah.
So the easy way to find me is just to go right there to Jim Lujan and put a .com at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll actually take you to my YouTube page where you can see a lot of my previous animated works and such. And there's bugs flying all around. But thank you, Josh. Yeah, this is like the Lars Lazarus is probably the third feature that I've done. So All That Glitters and Foreverland were the other two ones. Nice. And then I've done some other like 20-minute films here and there. But I'm telling you right now, I really enjoy doing the longer movies. It's just, to me, it's just more fun personally.
Yeah.
So, which ties in with your earlier comment, how do I finish these things? I make them fun to work on. Otherwise, I would not want to do them.
Yeah, I like the longer format for your writing style too, because it's like your humor is like kind of, I mean, some of it's like on the nose and it's wonderful. Like my favorite bit in Lars Lazarus is the constant joke they make about the psychics getting knocked off that's just repeated so
Yeah.
many times it becomes hilarious. Like it's kind of funny the first time. It's like that great device of like repeating a joke till it just kills.
The lameness just increases over
but it's
repetition.
wonderful. But then there's also some like really like one of my favorite things about your cartoons is just the kind of observational humor where it's like it's sort of like you just pick these absurd settings that I think anybody who's been like to like outskirt areas of LA or like Arizona or like just like out kind of out in the middle of nowhere type places, like there's these sort of off feels to like different locations and stuff like that, and you somehow kind of focus on like you choose these kind of isolated locations. They're not all isolated, some of them are cities, but you just choose.
I know what you mean. It's a big world. It's a big playground, and isn't it weird how Hollywood for so long has just concentrated on New York and LA, sometimes Chicago. It's like, are there more cities?
Yeah. But I love that, like, even if you do something in LA, it's like you'll pick like the kind of the less traversed areas in LA, and like the thing that I like about like the long form is I think it allows you to kind of play with that observational humor more. So like you get to kind of almost like ramble a little bit, but like you still connect all the threads of the stories. So it's been really fun for me to like watch that because I like where you go, and I like in Lars Lazarus how you're able to have like a subplot like snuck in with a plot. Like so there's this whole action movie star sequence that's like a film within a film, and it's like that's something that like in your shorts like you would do, but you might just kind of have a snippet of. Right. But the thing I like about the feature length is you're able to kind of explore that, like especially when you're serializing them for like a whole little episode. Like it can be like exploring this other character, this other thing, and I just think that's such a cool format. But still, I mean that's a huge undertaking. Like, so I mean, like first off, like because we've had you on before and stuff, but like one thing I was curious about is like just for artists out there, like I hear this a lot for myself. I know Cory, I'm sure, has heard it a lot from like students and that he teaches and other people as well, where it's like people will kind of tell me like, well, I'd like to do like a comic or a graphic novel, but I just don't have the time, and then I'll ask them about like what they're doing, and like I think of like guys like you and like all the guys from like the meetups that we used to do, and it just like most artists I know like don't have none of us have time. But so I kind of think like sometimes it's valuable, especially for people who are like getting into animation or checking out like, getting into cartooning and stuff. Like how, can you run us through like, how do you like, what's your window of time to work? Like, how do you kind of manage to carve away at these things? Cause you are really prolific in your output,
I'd say if somebody was trying to lose weight, I'd say ice cream is the worst thing that you could possibly bring into your life regularly. If somebody's trying to get a lot done, television and video games are the worst thing that you could bring. And I know that a lot of people think by watching a lot of shows, it's going to inspire them, but it's also sucking time away from actually creating and learning stuff as you create it. So that's pretty much, if there's a big secret, it's that I don't watch a lot of TV. I do watch TV. I do own a television or two, and I have ice cream in my fridge right now. But that's really what it comes down to. It's the spare time, your spare time that you would spend just vegetating, watching television. And then it comes down to like, what do you want and how bad do you want it? So, and then I've also said this a lot of times too, to creators, whatever medium you're in, pick a creation method that you can sustain.
Yeah.
That's huge, because if you're a graphic novelist and you want to do oil paintings for every frame, is that realistic? I mean, are you going to be able to do that? There's a reason Alex Ross doesn't do monthly comics.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's funny too. I was actually joking about that with Jeff Lafferty, who does paint all his panels, and I was saying like I always feel like I'm a little crazy with how I approach comics, and then like there's Jeff, like he's literally hand painting the entire comic. It's kind of amazing. So there's always somebody out there doing it. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think you do have to kind of find like whatever way works to get productivity done, and then like also just figure out a workflow and kind of know your own temperament and your own sense of persistence. Because like one thing I've seen with you, Jim, is like even during like pre-COVID, during the art meetups and stuff, it's like you're always working on your animations. Like even at those meetups, you'd be kind of editing sometimes, or you'd be sketching or coming up with an idea for the next thing. Pretty much every time we all got
I'd be sketching like that.
But I think like that's a good kind of, I think that's a good window into it, because I do think a lot of people, like myself included, man, because like I just barely played with animation, this year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy how hard it is just to get like a minute. Like, so it's pretty impressive, like the what you can do, and like the amount of like the fact that you're syncing voices to lip movements, which is like I'm gonna have to ask you for some tips on that if
that's
I ever.
That's not a fun thing. You're gonna have to use Cory's AI version of that.
Yeah, Cory's got his brilliant like puppet rigged workaround, which is also a similar workaround to like what he's using right now on the stream to have. Cory's always the guy who'll find like a technical way to blow the like lid off of whatever the system is.
and I'm slower than both of you guys, so
I don't know, Cory, you're pretty.
You busted out a music video a week for like 4 to 6 weeks in a row, right?
Yeah, I feel like that was procrastinating though, because
it's still animation.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim would relate to that too. It's like sometimes when you finish a big project, it's like I knew I should be hustling that project, but man, instead I was like, I just want to hop on a totally different project.
It's happening right now as we speak, at this moment tonight. It's like I need to. I'm doing some prep on another cartoon I did. We're trying to prep it to get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's like I want to jump to the next new thing.
Yeah.
But I got to do it. I'm doing that. Yeah.
It's so hard though to like keep focus, because like that's the work part of like everything about it's work, right? But like like you were kind of describing, it's like you make it fun. So it's like when you're working on a big project, it's like if you can make it interesting enough, or like try a challenge. Like I do like that about your animations too, is like I always see you try something different. A lot of it's like filmmaking stuff, which is pretty cool. So you've gotten pretty like ambitious with like some of the shooting and angles. Even in Lars Lazarus, there's some amazing dream sequences in that get like pretty
There was a time when I was working on Lars Lazarus where I was watching it and I'm like, this is really stupid, but it's like I was having a fun time, and I was thinking, this is like, I'm way too deep into sci-fi on this. Like but I mean, I never, it was a labor to finish it, but I never felt lost doing it. I never felt like, why am I doing this? I mean, I always knew where I was going with it, but it was a labor to do it, definitely. And I did try some new ground, and I was having fun doing it. And what I said earlier about other people doing voices, for sure, this is probably the most I've flipped things around. Rather than having a couple of guest voices, I had a couple of my voices, or like the guest voices, and everybody else played a main character in it. So that was really fun. That brought a lot of joy to me. So
Am I crazy, or was that Ken in the dance like sequence at the strip club? I thought you were like Ken drawing on the wall.
yes, you might be crazy, but I don't want I don't want to make any professional.
Okay.
And B, I don't think that was Ken in the dance club.
It's just, there was a dude who looked a little bit like Ken Mora in that scene on the left.
I think that was subliminal because I probably always have Ken on the mind. But Ken Mora has been, if somebody wants to go back and watch episode 2 of San Giorno Must Die on the Rugburn channel, it's a mini series I did. Ken is definitely in that as a henchman, so he does do an appearance in that, and in Revengeance. He's in Revengeance too. That's
so rad. Revengeance is great. And actually, for anyone who's watching too, these are all on Amazon. So like, I mean, Master Freak Theater and Revengeance, it's like those are like literally on Amazon right now and worth watching. So
yeah, I'm still tripping out that Master Freak Theater's on Amazon. Oh, now all the episodes of Master Freak Theater, because the first 5 were out. Now all 10 are out.
That's so amazing.
I know it's a trip to flip the menu and go, there I am.
I think it's great though, and it's like I think like the cool thing about your approach to cartooning is like you always kind of like seem to want to make something that's going to crack you up first. And obviously an audience too, but it's like you really chase like the kind of vision you have for it, and then sort of let the chips fall where they will. And what's neat is like you've been persisting at it for so long that it's like neat to see people discovering, like people have. I mean, I found out, I've told you about this, but I found out about you like back in the day, like during a Spike and Mike's festival in Long Beach.
Wow.
You know? And then I remember when we were all podcasting, I was like, wait, you're Jim? Like, I know you from that. You know, because we, for like weeks, were making jokes about that Mama, I'm a Thug. Because it just, especially for the era and time that came out, that was like representative of a lot of people like weird kind of entitled kids I meet in like Cal State Long Beach.
It's still go. It's timeless. It never changed.
Yeah, totally. But
they're just not wearing masks now. That's all.
But it's so cool to see like that. Like it's cool to see that evolution too, where it's like I think the first time that was like a DVD, and then it's become like like then it was like airing on local television. And now it's on like Amazon, and like I mean it's just really cool to see it, and I'm kind of hoping. More people kind of discover like the brilliance of what you're doing, because it's just amazing.
Yeah, some kid in the south of France can watch my stuff now. Well, he always could on YouTube, I guess, but now he can pay for it.
That's awesome, though.
But yeah, I to me that's a thrill. I by no means am blasé about being on Amazon. Like I think it's a big deal, and I think it's really cool, and I'll enjoy it while it's there, and try to get more things on there.
Yeah.
But I love it. I mean, I've put stuff out for so long and put it on YouTube for so long and built a really good core following. I love it, but it is kind of cool to like. It's like, well, now let the rest of the world see if I can progress. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's hard to get past like like we have like little core audiences that like support us, and they're awesome people, but it's like it is always hard. Like Scott and I and Cory have all talked about like how do you kind of push past like just sort of the immediate groups, because it's like I love cartoonists, and most of the people who kind of follow what we're doing are cartoonists, but so how do we get like our work to like kind of reach people beyond like just other cartoonists, because like I mean I do want to make comics for cartoonists in the sense of like I'm hoping like if a cartoonist picks up my book, like they'll be like, hey, this is really good, and enjoy it, because most of us like it.
The legendary Javier Hernandez once said to me and to others that you want to take your work, if you're a comic book artist, let's say, you want to take your work to a place that exhibits crafts, and you're the only comic guy there. Or if you're a filmmaker, take it to if you're doing action films, take it to a wrestling match, like to be the guy that's not in the mold of you're not competing with everyone else. You're being unique.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've done that in a way, in a weird way. I've done that on a bigger scale, meaning I'm not doing like flavor of the month cartoons, and I'm not doing these little short bite size. I'm not doing all the smart things.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm not doing 3-hour animated films about, water rippling, just to show off my animation skills,
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's people that do that, but so I've kind of taken a weird path too. So, I don't know. To me, like you said, the proof is in the pudding, because I just finished a big, massive project, and now I'm ready. I want to do my next one. I'm already starting to plan that one out and stuff. Yeah. I need to kind of stop and promote the stuff that's already out there.
Yeah, that's a hard that's honestly for me, that's always been the hardest lesson to learn. Even promoting this book, it's I think I did it pretty hardcore for 2 days, and then 2 days in, I was just I just don't want to. I want to work on the next book. I don't want to be doing this. But then I have to remember, that's the work. That's part of the work too. So I relate to that a lot.
Hey, Josh, the Dream Syndicate art dolls said something really good right here. Mm-hmm. There's two things they said, but the second thing is they said, I think the key. There you go. I think the key is to find something that already exists and has an audience, and put that stuff in front of them. That's a really great suggestion.
Yeah.
That's why my next cartoon will be QAnon based.
Yeah.
And
sorry, Jim, I would actually love if you riffed on that, but I do think you've already kind of done a kind of
I'm like this with the lizard people.
Yeah.
We're like that.
Yeah. So that's true.
And then they said something else really good here too.
Chrome here.
They said, I think the key is to find something that I already read that one. They said, it's the other one. Okay, here. Yes. Please read that for me now.
Yeah. So the problem with gaining a following of only people that do what you do is you're always passing around the same $20 bill. And that's totally true, man.
Yeah.
Like
Patreon.
Yeah. But I do kind of think you're right in the sense of I think that's made you very unique though, Jim, because I even remember so when the NCS had you speak there, it's cartoonists love what you've done. Because it's so cool and it's so unique and it's all you. It's there's not some corporate jerk who kind of stepped in and was okay, we need to kind of tone this down, or so it's got this just it's got a total authorship to it that you don't see as at least I don't really see as often in animation. It's kind of a rare few, I think, who can maintain that for as long as you have.
Yeah.
But so Lars Lazarus, so part of the trick to making the longer film, because just to get to a 5-minute animation, to me it just seems mind-boggling. But you're doing these sections. Did it help to kind of serialize it? Does that kind of help you to sort of bear through that long of a process?
Yes, because right now my heart is not into doing 5-minute cartoons, beginning, middle, end, and then they're all wrapped up in 5 minutes. I'm just not excited about that right now. That's not what I want to do. But what I found was, if I had a big project that I knew that was going to be an hour long or whatever, I could tell it in these little 5-minute, sections, because I knew it would continue. And this is the second time I've done it, because I did it with All That Glitters. Actually, I did it with San Giorno Must Die. That when I did that series, I just put that together as a movie, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty easy. And then I did one called All That Glitters, a series, and that was 20 episodes.
Yeah.
And I put that together as like an hour-long movie and just re-edited it, changed some stuff around, built it so it flows better as a movie, cut some stuff, added some stuff, And after that, I was like, oh, that was really cool. And I knew I wanted to do Lars Lazarus next. I knew after doing All That Glitters, which was about the music industry and like this Eastern European mob, I knew that I wanted to do something that was away from that world.
Yeah.
Kind of I wanted to do something a little bit sci-fi, 70s feel, And then I did Lars Lazarus, and then and I put it together the same way as All That Glitters. I did 13 episodes, jammed them together, moved some stuff around, took some stuff out, added some stuff. And then at the end of that, I'm like, I'm never, ever, ever doing this again. I'm like, I'm done. And the reason why is because of the deliverables, the schedule of having to put out a new episode every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I was like, oh man, like I was running on fumes on it. But putting the movie together was different. It was like I had a bulk of it, so I just had to add a few things and move some stuff around. But the next thing I do, I told myself I don't feel like doing a series next.
Yeah,
I'm going to do something that's meant to be a film.
I'm excited about that. I think that will be cool, but I will miss the serialized things because I know it's a labor, but it is really fun. It has been fun to kind of like throughout this, like be like, oh, a new episode. Like,
well, Cory and I talked about this on Indiemation on the last episode that we have. I don't know if I mentioned it or Cory mentioned it, but it's like you don't want to. When you have a big project, it's scary because you don't want to step away for a long time and not have anything to show.
Yeah.
But what I'll do is I'll do the same thing I did as when I did Cherries in the Snow, which was 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Or Infinity Pool. I'll show clips as I go, like
Smart.
little scenes and clips, and maybe some behind the scenes stuff. But plus I work super fast too, so that helps.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. And it's like, so another thing I was going to ask is like for a longer series like that, I know you're a guy who like has and concepts a ton of ideas. Like you probably have a list of a million stories you want to tell next.
Mm-hmm.
But like for people who are kind of concepting, we kind of talked about that. I think Cory very eloquently like talked about like some really cool methods for like people to kind of troubleshoot if they're just getting into kind of doing creative stuff for concepts. But like for you, how do you kind of pick like what the concept is for like a long, because you're going to be with that concept for a while. How do you kind of single one out?
Usually Cory tells me. All things Cory tells me what to do, and I say, yes, Cory, I shall. So, but when we don't, that's not always though. But
what isn't really known is that I've been behind Jim's success for the last 15 years. So, calling the strings, calling the shots.
I'm actually AI.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
So you guys all saw the puppet rigs and stuff like that. Cory has effectively rigged Jim Lujan.
Yes.
Yeah. Jim Lujan has run through a series of switches and things that I have here, and that's why I'm not talking a lot. Is I'm making Jim's all of them.
And he drank some water while I was talking. If you notice that worked really well. Really. Many people know this from the many magazine interviews and television interviews I've done through the years. But I always tend to go back to old ideas, like stuff you jot down. That'd be really funny to do a cartoon or a concept. I'll go back and develop it later. So I'm really good about mining my own backlog of stuff. Yeah. So like, for example, Lars Lazarus is probably 4 years old, 5 years old. Before that, all Actually, I just told a huge lie because I don't always do that. Okay, all that glitters, which was before Lars, all that glitters was brand new. Like that was not an old idea. But before, if you keep going back, like cherries in the snow and stuff like that, those are all like stuff that I wrote down. The next one I'm probably going to do is an idea that's probably like 3 years old. And then it changes and it doesn't stay the same. But I rarely sit down and go, well, what will be next? What should I create? What I do is I'll go back and go, oh yeah, this one. I feel like doing this one now.
Yeah.
You know? And then I start, like right now, the way my brain's working is I know, like kind of know the cast. A couple of folks I want to ask might be a Josh Campbell in there somewhere. Who knows? Who knows? But I actually do have one for you, Josh. When I get to this one, and I will get to it, you're going to be the lead in it. So I told you that for a long time, but it's actually true.
I'll take it. It sounds fun.
That's usually how it.
That's cool though, and I think that's actually like one of the strengths of it too is like you have ideas that have kind of. I also think like there's a playfulness to like the way you approach concepts, and I think that's cool. It's just it shows in the work, and probably keeps you at it like on those like a crazy schedule where you're like the last few weeks in, you're just kind of like I don't know if I want to. But there's got to be like, I don't know, kind of a hook that kind of keeps you going. So if you don't have the deadline, then like you were saying, you would probably just break it and sort of serialize it a little bit. So at least there's some kind of public update to keep you.
Yeah. And I've done this 3 or 4 times, so I'm pretty good at it. Like my wife would go, why do you keep showing clips of your stuff? Why don't you just, because I'm making it. It's like, it's not going to be done for, I found a couple of things, Josh. I found that around 20 minutes is my sweet spot right now. I like doing stories that are about 20 minutes, a little less or a little more. Although Lars Lazarus is 50 minutes or whatever. So, but I like that. And then I've also found the time frame for me to do a 20-minute movie is about 6 months, so that I could do a couple of years.
Do you like recognize that that's like just insane?
Kind of, I do.
Because that's, I mean, it's just
kind of a little bit.
I spend that amount of time on like 5 minutes. I'm like, it's crazy. Every time I see, like, I feel like, and I know this isn't the case, but I feel like you had just wrapped one of those as we started talking, and then we were talking, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this other one," and then it was like 3 days later, you're like done with like a second feature film. And I was like, "How did that?"
Well, I cheated on this last one. This is the last one I just assembled, and the other thing too. Obviously, if you've watched my films or followed me at all, this is true. Is that perfection is the killer of completion, if you want, like if I sat there and nitpicked, like I looked at Lars Lazarus, I'm like, oh, I colored outside the lines right there, but I didn't go, oh my God, I need to re-render it. You just, whatever, you just get. And the other thing too, this is huge. If I was a band, this would be the band saying, hey, you kids, you got to play live. You got to play in front of the audience. You got to learn your chops in front of the audience. But I'm not a band.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel. Like my stuff, I don't just make my stuff and just like, okay, I'm going to watch my stuff by myself. Yeah. I've never been that way. It's always been for the audience. And sometimes I've had to watch it with an audience. And that keeps you on your toes. Like when with Lars Lazarus, I was a time I was watching it. I'm like, man, is this thing too long? Should I be cutting this? And I sent it to a couple of people that will give me their honest opinion.
Yeah.
And they was like, no, this works. And then I showed it to my wife. Speaking of honest opinions, Leanne will give me the most, like, I can just, she doesn't even have to say it. If it's boring, she'll be like, you know. And she watched it, and that gave me like a huge confidence boost because she goes, "That's really good." Like it, and I go, "You liked it?" She's like, "Yeah, it was really." And I was like, "All right, that's all I need done." So, but yeah, you got to show your stuff to people, and without excuses either. I mean, that's why my mistakes are my mistakes, and even though they're mistakes, they do add character to my stuff.
Yeah.
If I, or when I have access to a studio or somebody doing stuff on a bigger level, like I had it with Revengeance.
Yeah.
Even then, you kind of want to keep that looseness.
Yeah, you can also like, it's interesting because it's like I work in a pretty like tight style for my finished work, but my wife, like, her finished work looks best when she's a children's book illustrator, you know this, but it's like her finished work actually looks best when you can see the pencil, and it's like because she's just got this beautiful gesture to her drawings, and it's like so. I remember like when we were both like new illustrators, and we went to like an SCBWI thing, and this editor for like some big publisher kind of like did a crit with her. And that was like the one thing they said. They were like, "These are beautiful paintings, but we want to see some more of the line because like your strength is really in line, and like you're kind of losing some of the movement and this beautiful gesture you got in the drawings." And so ever since then, she's like developed like a style that like shows her line and shows the movement, and it's so much more alive and fun. Like half the best, like to me, I like even in animation, it's like I think of a movie like The Rescuers, right? And it's like if you see like the little test pencils, I'd rather see that as a movie. Like the test pencil reels in that are like some of the most beautiful animation you'll ever see. And then they kind of like, and it's a beautifully animated movie, but it's like I do think there is kind of a coolness to like kind of keeping the looseness to it. And I do think like keeping with the band thing, there's also a little bit of punk rock to it, which is kind of awesome. I think it's
I agree. I agree on that.
Yeah.
There's also an unspoken language that we all, when we watch or listen to or read a story. It's an unspoken language, like a flow. Some people call it the force. No, but it's a flow that you can watch something and you're like, wow, this is moving along really well. Like this is done, and you start forgetting about the drawing style, or you start forgetting about this is in black and white, or and when something has that, it's like you could improve upon it to a certain point, but be careful because you don't want to ruin it. You've seen, and we all have seen a small project turned into a big budget thing, and then the big budget thing's not as good as the small project. Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. It's like the small project had that something that made people hook to it, and they still carry that over to the big project, but they add all kinds of, it's like a recipe, they add all kinds of extra ingredients. And sometimes you don't need chorizo in your cake,
But in your breakfast burrito, that's absolutely essential. Like, if you're not doing chorizo, you're just not doing it right.
Absolutely.
But
I feel like Hollywood consistently learns the wrong lessons.
Yeah.
Every time there's like a success of something that like breaks the mold or is out of the ordinary or whatever, they like pick the one thing that isn't the reason that it was successful, and they're like, oh, we got to do that now. It's like, no, it's like almost consistently every time, like everyone knows why and it's usually because it's like it's authentic, it's real, it's whatever. And they're like, oh, that guy was wearing a headband. Now every indie thing that we're making to make go big, everybody has to wear a headband. And it's like literally had nothing to do with that.
A good example of that's like right after like Pulp Fiction came out, there was just like a slew of like mimic Tarantino flicks.
Yeah.
And some of them were okay, but it's like the majority of them weren't gonna hit like that Tarantino feel because it just didn't. It's like they were like, well, okay, we just mix kind of this kind of music with like a bunch of violence and like maybe have people have long conversations, and it's like, but it didn't have the dialogue that Tarantino has, and like
I've been chasing the Tarantino dragon ever since 1992. So.
but anyhow, my point was like this, that I'm just shocked that like, I think like Hollywood doesn't learn the right lessons in that sense, because it's like, maybe let Tarantino be Tarantino, like, and don't like try to fund like a million people who aren't already working in that style. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
No. It does. I mean, that's what Hollywood does, is that they kind of whatever. It's about money, It's like whatever is proven that's going to bring in money, they're going to do 10 of them. Yeah. So
I just always like those first, like those are a lot more interesting.
Like, is there actually money in the second and third and fourth and fifth and 10th and whatever?
Well, yeah, there actually is, because here's something that's kind of exciting to me. I think it's really cool and really exciting that people do like low budget movies for these weird markets.
Yeah.
I just think the fact that that exists is inspirational.
Yes.
And, so you see these really terrible rip-off movies of whatever but they ship to like Bulgaria, it's like, and they'll have a guy who was a star, in the 70s, and he's way out of shape, but he's playing and you're like, this is like the Terminator meets, Alligator, it's just I love that this subgenre exists.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
Yeah, I just, or even when like this is now he's huge, big time. But remember when Tyler Perry was making all the those at first making all those weird films, like if Mama says it jumps, you better crawl. They have all these titles, these weird titles. It don't rain on Sundays no more. It's like all these weird films that they were like these little plays that he turned into films. I had never seen one, but I just thought it was really inspirational that he was doing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my God, he's making this happen. And this is before he was a billionaire.
Yeah.
So I just think the fact that when people when there's an outlet, I think that's fantastic. What I don't like is they're gatekeepers. I don't like gatekeepers at all, because they are the one. Well, no, you cannot make your film. No, you cannot continue your series. No, you cannot. Like, I don't have a deal with Amazon, but that's why I'm so excited that it's on Amazon. I feel it's like a privilege. It's like I'm honored to be on Amazon, but I wouldn't be in a situation where, like, if Amazon was like, no, you can't make your stuff anymore. Okay, it goes away. I'll do my stuff no matter what. That's another thing. So, but I've always liked fringe stuff too.
Yeah, I also think it's like it is one of the best times in the world for fringe stuff, especially fringe animation, because there's so many outlets now. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nuts. It's like I can't imagine a scenario like it like now, like ever.
So Dream Syndicate right now says Steven Seagal movies these days are hilarious. Exactly. I didn't even know that either, but I think that's so cool that there is.
Yeah.
I mean, I love stuff like that. I love, like, if Chuck Norris were to make a low budget movie that's, shot in Israel or something like that, I think that's fantastic. I don't know, because to me,
I agree with that. I think it's even more fantastic when it's super authentic. Like, it's like if you see it and Chuck Norris isn't really trying, it's like maybe not as interesting. But if he's like really trying and that it's out there, I think that's fabulous.
They're still making Charles Bronson movies, and he's been dead for like 12 years. So they have there's a fake Charles Bronson out there. You got to see it. You got to go Google it. Death Kiss is the name of the movie. Go Google it. They use a Charles Bronson lookalike. It's insane. You got to know it. Yeah, go Google Death Kiss Charles Bronson lookalike. Okay. It's awesome. Okay, I kind of put that in the same category as I think it was really exciting back in the day when I used to was more familiar with the comic scene in the Bronze Age, that you get this really upcoming, exciting creative team that nobody knows yet, but they're going to be big stars one day, and they take over the crappiest title and they just flip it around.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Like to me, that's exciting. It's kind of like, as a creator, you kind of want to be in those positions sometimes because there's no pressure.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going to happen? You're going to make this thing fail harder.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what is exciting about when I was on like UHF or public access.
Yeah.
It's like there was no pressure, there was no.
But what I think is so cool about public access is like there used to be a show here on public access, and I think a lot of people have stories like this, but it's like at least locally, like in the valley, the Antelope Valley, right? Like they had this show. I don't know if this was on every station, but it was called like Dumpster Piece Theater. And it had like, puppets and like, it would show like corny horror movies. And this was like pre mystery science theater, so it's like, it was really like only a cable sort of thing. Like you had like maybe like Elvira doing that kind of stuff, but it was like these weird late night shows that would come on public access stations. And it was like one of my favorite things to watch as a kid. Like if I could catch it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What is this? And so to me, like the idea that like some kid, like, was like 15, 14, just like I was like, surfing these channels and going like, what is this? Is amazing. What is this? Or like how I discovered, like I think most of us discovered Monty Python on like PBS,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember it being on late at night and being like, what? This is the thing. Like if that, like, I think it's cool that there's somewhere in LA, like in LA, there are some kids who were like flipping channels and came across like your work, your shorts, and just were like, whoa, this is the coolest, like to me, that's also really cool. Like that, because like I do think humor has like a real importance to so many age ranges, but I do think like there's a certain type of person who's like up late at night and surfing to public access that like if humor can connect with that person, it's like it's a good thing. I just think that's so exciting. So
yeah, and there's something about late night that adds to the fever dream feel. Yeah. I remember Monty Python on it late when I was a kid. And Monty Python was on PBS, Channel 28, KCET, Los Angeles. I remember it was on really late, and I remember when I would catch it, it almost made me feel like I had cable television, which I didn't. It was like a weird special treat. And to me, it belonged on that hour, like in that weird, where you're like half asleep watching it and then laughing.
Yeah, and I remember just coming in through like some skits and then being like, "What was that?" And I didn't.
I had a friend, my friend Caesar. I had that happen with my stuff. My friend Caesar, before I ever knew him, in the late '90s, he discovered me because he came home late from a club one night. Where you're stopping at getting Jack in the Box tacos or whatever, and and he's just going to sleep. It was 3 a.m. He said. And he was flipping channels, and for some reason, my public access TV show, cartoon show, was on. And he said he was like about to fall asleep, and he looked at it. He was like, "What the hell?" He said, "What the hell is this?" And he wrote my name down and everything. And he contacted me like a couple of days later. He goes, "I just had to know what the hell is like. What is this?" And that's like the best compliment.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. And I think that's perfect. So I think that would be, I don't know. I kind of want it all for you. I want you to have like a Netflix thing, an Amazon thing, like a feature film and like in theaters. And I also want you on public access stations.
Yeah.
Running like at weird hours. Cause I just think, when people give your work the time, I think they love it. It's just more of like trying to get eyeballs seeing it. And I think
like I said, I have like I used to say, be careful what you ask for too, because you might get it. But I've always said, oh, I'd much rather have like a small cult following audience, like a hardcore, audience than have like, a bunch of casual.
Yeah.
But I kind of have something like that. It's a really small group, but the ones that watch it are consistent, and like they really when they watch something, they watch it and they bring up stuff that I forgot was in it. Oh yeah, but I would sell you guys out in a minute for millions of people. So yeah, but at least for a while, at least let me get the dough. Let me get the dough, and then.
Jim, I would not judge you if you sold us out for $1 million. Yeah, that's a pretty decent rate. Take it. Take the money.
So I have a question. So I grew up in a much less populated area than you guys did. So I don't have all these fancy channel 28. We had 3 channels, and one of them I had to like add tinfoil to the antenna to get it to like so I could hear it. So anyway, I'm curious what you guys think. What is today's randomly flipping through the channel? Is it YouTube? Is it TikTok?
I think it's YouTube. Well, maybe it's TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah.
But TikTok, it was YouTube for sure.
TikTok is ridiculous. Like it is like
well, wait till you see my my new app, my All Farts Network. It's just all farts.
I would watch that 9 times out of 10 over TikTok, because I have been on TikTok I just don't care to watch other people dance poorly to crappy music. That's it's like 80% of TikTok.
But then if you're over a certain age, it should be illegal to be on TikTok.
It might be. I think if you're over 25, you're like a weird pariah.
Because if you're over a certain age and you're on TikTok, Chris Hansen should walk into your house and go, "Hi, have a seat."
I mean, I'm just there because I'm like, what is this? I mean, it's like the president of the United States is trying to ban it.
That's what I was going to say. I think it was illegal for a little bit there, right? Wasn't it going to get banned or something?
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
I haven't checked out TikTok, but I do love that comedian who does the like mouthing Donald Trump.
She's great. Sarah Cooper, right?
That's hilarious.
You know what? I will say one thing. I mean, from what I've seen of TikTok and the output, that kids today are ingenious. They are truly ingenious, way more ingenious than our generation and all that stuff. They really are. They're really like crafty and yeah, the TikTok lets it. Yeah.
But I want to know, like, they're coming up with interesting stuff, but they are. I don't want to say this because this sounds like, I'm an old man sitting in a lawn chair yelling at kids to get off my lawn, which I do sometimes because the kids in my neighborhood are really annoying. But I want to, like, I don't know that they're making stuff for the same reason that I made stuff. Right? I made stuff because I thought it was funny to watch, Top Secret, which is a movie that very few people.
Oh, I love Top Secret. I know a little German.
That movie is when when he breaks the window before shooting through it, like, and they that every time they break the window pane because they didn't have the budget. They just I swear half that movie was just people like us who were like, let's just do a whole scene backwards and no one will notice it's backwards until it gets ridiculous. And so I saw that at like 15 and I was like, yep, I'm doing that. And I shot this whole spy flick where it was like all the same. I was just ripping off their gags. And then I tried to say like, okay, that was funny because they did it like on Monty Python. They're like running towards the castle. It was funny because it was like 10 times the same shot. And so I was like, I'm going to do it right. And so I was doing it because I wanted to be funny. I wanted to see if I could make the same thing. I wanted to see if I could take my giant old VHS camera and do the same trick, but apply it to my story or whatever. And
I feel like, and this is where I'm going to sound like I'm 87 years old. I feel like kids today are not doing it because I want to try to create something that's fun. I want to see if I can do that trick. I want to tell this story. They're like, I want to go viral. I want to be famous. I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be a TikToker.
You know what these kids today need? They need the belt. That's what they need.
What they need is some like storytelling. And you go on like TikTok and you're like, there are some people that are telling stories, and then it's that entire channel is built on like derivative.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I mean, literally it's derivative. Literally it's like, oh, they did a thing. I'm going to do the exact same thing.
You have to remember where YouTube started though, because initially YouTube was like built on like cute cat videos and like America's funniest home video type stuff. Like that was kind of the biggest first viral stuff on YouTube. And it was kind of Wild West for a bit where you had all sorts of stuff, but that was the stuff for a long period of time.
Well, I feel grateful that I'm Generation X because I have a perspective now where I am not the old man, pointing my finger. I just like to each their own, because when I was growing up, my brothers hated the music I liked, and that was like stupid. And, it was just, well, it is actually, but I like their criticism, like they wouldn't give it the time of day a lot of times on some of the stuff. And so I know now, like when I see the kids doing stuff, the one thing I have been guilty of, though, I was like guilty of getting frustrated with people being famous because they're famous. Like they don't do anything. They're just famous. But then somebody brought up a point. It's like, that's kind of always been the case. There's always been a group of people that have been famous or just being famous. So like now the way I look at it is I kind of like worry about my own stuff, my own circle. And for sure, if I step back and look at it, it's ridiculous. Like you're like, it's not fair. It's like, well, why can't there be an independent animation channel?
Yeah.
That
would be great though.
If Cory would just get that $1 billion going, we can make it happen. He's so selfish. But by the way, if any of the Forbes family is, Bobby Forbes is watching, or Gary Forbes, Cindy Forbes,
I'm pretty sure they're subscribers to my channel.
If you guys want to start that, I'll curate it for you. So
I mean, I want this generation's liquid television.
But you know what's funny? Like the era of liquid television, like if you think back to that though, like most indie animators outside of that, like were kind of shit out of luck. Like, so in a weird way, we're in a better position now than we were with liquid television, even though there's some brilliant stuff. And I loved, like, I honestly used to stay up late to watch that all the time, but it's like, to me, I do think like some of that's nostalgia, because I think now like there's just so much animation.
Can you post Peter Palmiotti's last comment? This is just so stupid. That's my sense of humor right there. It's time to plank. LOL. Latest trends.
But I get like I think the one moment where I felt kind of boomer-ish, like even though I'm the very last end of Generation X, I think I'm literally the last year of it. And the thing that made me feel like an old man and started making me realize like I've kind of become that different generation was mumblecore. Like I really love hip hop, and I've loved hip hop like for a very long time. And there's just something about that I just cannot. Like I can get into Kendrick Lamar, I can get into all kinds of hip hop that even is currently happening, but it's like for some reason there's just something about like the mumble thing where I can't even grasp it, and I realize like either it is terrible or I'm that old guy who's like, that rap music is terrible.
The thing that makes me feel like an old man is my birth certificate. I really am pretty good about not, and it's not, what you're doing isn't hating. Yeah. It's just, you're expressing your, but like I'm obviously, if you see my wardrobe, I'm very good at ignoring trends. I just kind of like I stay in my lane and then just kind of like cherry pick the things I like.
Yeah.
Try and stay positive. I mean, everyone gets frustrated. Like I'll give you, okay, you said mumblecore. I'm going to try and think of what's a trend that lately that I'm like, I'm just not with it. Well, I kind of mentioned it. It was like the whole, okay, like this, and I don't mean this in a jealous way, but like the YouTuber fame culture.
Yeah.
That I recognize it for what it is, but I'm just like, I wish it was something else. I wish it was more like based in like, oh wow, there's not that many people that can do that.
Yeah.
And that's the old man blueprint right there. You can take that blueprint and go back to the 50s, and somebody was saying about that, or the 60s. Those Beatle kids are, they're mop hair.
Those kids with their cars.
Yes, they're gonna look back at the YouTubers one day and say that they're like, they actually had to film themselves. They didn't have the cyber input in there. Cory, help me.
A neural implant that records your perception.
Yes, there you go. And follows your dung down the pipe so you can race it with your friends.
I'm telling you, that is not that far off, because
that's true.
Like, remember Google Glass and how everybody was like, "Oh, it's so weird and it'll never whatever." Well, now Amazon, Apple, and Google all have like wearable tech, and no one is saying a thing about it.
So you should have called that poop tracking thing Google Ass. That would have been.
I like what you were saying though, Jim, because like I definitely relate to like when there was a good chunk of my early career where I was doing a lot of comparison, and I think that's pretty common with new artists, like because I was like hungry for work and I wanted to get in and like, get it done and all of that. And so I would like do a lot of comparing where I'd be like, well, how come that person, but I did a lot of that. And I remember kind of coming to a realization of like, it wasn't really leading me anywhere. Like, it's good to look at people you admire and kind of where they're heading and sort of like look at some points that maybe they did that you could repeat, or things that you could actually learn from. But I don't think at least thinking back on that, like whenever I got in that mindset, I don't think it ever benefited me at all. And so like, I found that like, I think like what you're talking about, like I more and more become that type of person where I think it's better to surround ourselves by people we like, and not just like personally like, but we like the work of, like, for me, it's great to like know you and like just a ton of our circle where it's like, these are artists I actually admire. And it's not like I like the stuff they're doing. So if their stuff takes off, I'm stoked and pumped, and like I want to see them succeed.
The circle that we run with,
our
is really diverse. It's very diverse too.
It really is.
Yeah, you get people hanging out with each other that you wouldn't think would get along.
I just want to point out how excited I am that this entire segment has been how I am wrong and you guys are better than I am. That's cool.
You're green with envy.
I am. No, I want to say, I look at that situation. It doesn't bug me because of jealousy, because I don't really care that much. It mainly bugs me because I really believe at the core of like quality content is good storytelling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's sustainable to do gimmicky crap. It's like it's a flash in the pan. So my problem isn't like, oh, they're making all this money and I'm not, and they have this huge audience and I'm not. My problem is like, I don't want my 10-year-old to like think that that's success, because if those people that are like huge right now doing something that sucks and doesn't tell a story, if they don't change to actually add value to people's lives and entertain them or teach them or whatever, make them elicit some sort of emotion, they're going to starve to death. And so that's my biggest problem.
One Cory, one of the cool things about the really young generations coming up that I like is that it's not cool to be like a bully or mean.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's a really good. I think that you guys can testify to this. That was not part of our generation.
No.
At all. Not at all. So
and the other thing is like, because of us, it is acceptable to be like really excited about something. Like, like my daughter went through years of being like embarrassingly excited about Harry Potter, and then the next book series that she read, Percy Jackson. And I mean, all of it, but I mean, she was like unabashedly a fan. And I remember thinking like, I couldn't really do that as a kid.
Yeah,
I was slightly more reserved.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I tried that in junior high with Lord of the Rings, the books, and that didn't fare well for me. I think that lasted one day in school. Just don't talk about Lord of the Rings at school.
Well, let me tell you about my 6th grade lesson. This was actually a life lesson I learned. A huge Kiss fan as a kid, like from age like 5 to my whole grammar school, and but I had to keep it under wraps because the kids at school, like, nobody talked about Kiss, or it wasn't like, it was almost embarrassing that I liked him, like, and I hid it. And around mid-term of 6th grade, mid-year, somebody brought Kiss cards to school, and all the cool kids were like, "Oh, that's awesome, that's bad," and I'm like, "Son of a bitch," I've been hiding this like for so long, and they're all into it, and I'm like, I could have been a trailblazer. So I burnt the school down.
Start from scratch.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was never cool, but I was never like ostracized. I was like one of those like guys that could kind of like fit in with any group. I hung out with like the nerdy comic book reading theater artist kids or whatever, but I also played football and basketball and stuff, because of my exceptional height and athletic prowess, obviously. But I would still like, there was still some sort of social like awareness that like, I'm excited about this, but I shouldn't be like super excited, because there's always those kids that were like, they didn't know. But then now I look at kids today, and they have no awareness that there was ever a thing to be embarrassed about. It's just, if you're into a thing, you can just be like an uber fan of that thing.
Although, to be fair, like, we're not really seeing that on the ground, so that might be our perception, and then like maybe it's just not that much different. Like, it might be one of those scenarios where you like go to a high school and somebody, because online it's really cool to be into like geek culture and stuff, they're like, yeah, this thing's awesome, and then they might still be dealing with a lot of the same things.
Well, I gave the and I don't know if it's millennials, if that's the right term or whatever, but the kids, I gave them a really good compliment earlier, and I'll give them the one criticism that I have for them, and that's they're technologically entitled. They're very entitled. Like, why doesn't it do this? Is dumb. Why doesn't it do this? Well, why doesn't it just do this? I've seen that firsthand. It's like, or well, why don't you just they can make anybody feel like the old man with the remote control. The new generation, which is good for them, because they were born into high-speed internet. They were born into, iPads and stuff like that. Whereas we were born into ColecoVision and what else? Pong.
I know what you're talking about. What is that?
Pong. Remember Pong?
Yeah, I remember Pong. Yeah. Wait, how old are you, Jim?
I'm 67 years old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm going to be 68 next month. So, I was around when Pong. Josh? You probably don't remember this, but I was around when Pong. I remember when Pong first came out, like as a console. I was a little kid.
I only know the Atari Pong.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
and that's like literally. I think it was because my brothers had that, so that was my first gaming system.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So I wanted to be a professional Pong player.
Yeah, I was really into Frogger back in the day too.
Yeah.
But there was some really good games on that.
Did you guys ever play Maelstrom? It was
What?
like Maelstrom. It was like a hopped up version of Asteroids.
Oh, Maelstrom. I thought that was like a man cycle that happened every month.
Right. Yeah. No, it's like that, but with a spaceship.
Oh. Berserk. Remember that? Or is it Berserk? Remember the game with it? Or here, I got something. I got homework for everybody listening. Everybody under the age of 50, go Google a video game called Crazy Climber. That's your homework. Google that. Love that game. That was such a horrible game, but I liked it.
Dig Dug?
Dig Dug, yeah.
Dig was good.
Yeah.
So I think because like for me, like it's still like my soft spot is Nintendo, like the first Nintendo console. Because it's like that was my like Atari was awesome, but Nintendo like Mario was like the Mario 3 when that game came out, it like blew my mind. And that literally was the last gaming system I ever owned for the reasons you were talking about at the intro of this. It's like I try not to buy a video game system. I have like a retro NES emulator actually. And even that I had to like unplug for a while because I don't have time to do video games or excessive amounts of like watching TV and stuff because I want to make stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
And I tend to be like, if I start something, I'm going to finish it type. So if I get into a video game, I will play it till I beat it, which is like means like that's all my creative time's just gone, especially with modern video games where there is no beating it, where you're just like, you're on level 563 and you're like, but I have to go further. I can't. So anyhow.
And kids, remember, no matter how good the video game is, if you beat it too much, you'll go blind. And that's the moral for the story.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, man. And you guys, this might be way you're faster animators than I am. I'm like ranking on Rocket League at this point.
What do you rank? What?
I play the dumbest game, but it is so good.
What's it called? Rocket League?
Rocket League. It is like rocket powered cars that you play soccer with.
Oh yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay because I do own a PS3 used, and the one video game I have is Grand Theft Auto 5.
There you go.
Great game.
That's the only game I play.
The last console I bought might have been the original Xbox. Back in like 2004, I think is the last, and I just use my PC is the problem.
So two things. One, Peter Palmiotti says you can play Atari games for free online. Please share that link. and two,
I watched Jim's production grind to a halt.
Yes, no more cartoons. Two, back in Sega Genesis days, my wife used to get furious. I would get addicted to playing Madden football and NBA and all that stuff. But here's the caveat. I almost would hardly ever play the game. I would spend all my time designing players and trading players and creating like a backstory. This guy hates this guy, and naming the players. And some of my cartoon characters are named after created players that I made up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I do want to tie this back to Lars Lazarus.
Yes. Let's do that.
And like my thought on it is just more like so you do spend more time like animating than like kind of doing this other stuff. How do you go about how do you go about assembling and audio editing? I mean, not in the sense of like, I guess my point is like, how do you convince all your friends to go along with making these awesome audio recordings? And then also, how do you go about doing like 50 different voices, your own animations? And then the last part of it would be, do you do your animations you do the animation to the voice recording, right?
No. No. So the first question about the people, I'm very careful about that because I won't blindly ask somebody, hey, would you want to be in my film? Yeah. Rarely. It's usually people that have expressed interest.
Yeah.
Hey, put me in one of your things. And everyone that's been in one of my films is really comfortable because they know that, this isn't a like payment. What's that? They know they know the deal.
Yeah.
And I try to make them shine. So that's it. But so it's a small select group of people that I work with, and then they're friends. That's one thing. And okay, so the other thing is, well, what was the other question?
Well, I was more just like curious about like the audio work. Like you do, like I guess my point behind it was like that the audio quality of your cartoons is really good.
Oh, okay.
The cartoon quality is awesome. The audio quality is absurdly like it's just really good. Like it's great. It's great voice acting. The levels and the volumes all work really beautifully. So I was just kind of curious, like how you go about, like, because you create these in such a short amount of time, like Cory was mentioning, like, 6 months for like a 20-minute that's like got, mouth movement with audio, like recording and all of that. That's a pretty short frame of time. So how do you go about like kind of engineering the sound and stuff? Like, do you like have like your own mixing platform? And
I'm so excited for Josh to hear this answer because I know
I do have a video that covers all of this. I'm going to paste you the link right now. And so you guys can share this link here, Josh or Cory. Copy and paste. Okay, so I'll put it in the private chat.
Did you put it in the private chat?
Yeah. There you go.
Love it.
All right. So so I did a video. Cory did one and I did one. We kind of describe our work methods.
Oh no, this is one of the ones I must have missed. So this is good.
Yeah. So go feel free to share that.
This is where I decided that people would be interested in me explaining what math is.
So the quick answer, Josh, for all of the audio stuff is, I'm the king of fake bands. I've had millions of fake bands over the years. So I come from I won't say I come from a recording background, but I come from my perspective is that the recording has to be really good, the quality of it. And so you just playing with that through the years, I think I became pretty good at that. And I think it carries the animation too. Obviously, the animation isn't, I'm not trying to do, top notch, trickery. I'm just trying to, but at the same time, I'm trying to do good art.
Yeah.
So the audio and editing carry a lot of my work. So
that's true of so much animation. If you turn the sound off, on even really good animation, that's done by like a studio that's got hundreds of people, it looks so hokey. I mean, good sound is huge. Yeah.
And you can also, in editing too, you can tell when something's edited well if you turn the sound down on it. Mm-hmm. But be careful when you do that because somebody will walk in the room and go, "What the hell are you doing? Turn the sound back up." But yeah, so those I come from Cheech and Chong as a kid was huge. I mean and the way that how well those were produced, that was huge.
I also feel like with comedy that's super important because like one of the things that I think sells a joke, not that everything's a joke, but the point being like in humor, I think one of the things that sells a joke really well is when it is well executed. So like I think I guess my point being like one of my favorite things about Monty Python, right, is like you watch Holy Grail, it's beautifully shot. It's beautifully, it's crazy, like how like all in they went for the joke. And I think that's I think you're right about that with audio, because I think it just makes it that much funnier. Like, whereas if it were kind of like harder to kind of distinguish, or like hard to hear, that can mess with like the flow of the whole experience. So
yeah. So there you have it.
I love it. And just in case people also would like to like kind of check out some of your bands and music, where could they go to check that out?
On YouTube, I have a music playlist called The Fake Explosion. Nice. And actually, you know what? If you go to jimlujan.com, it points to my YouTube page.
Boom.
So yeah, just go there, check out my music. There's tons over the years of like, that's been my other co-passion is, I don't know if the cartoons are an excuse to do music or is the music an excuse to do cartoons? I don't know, but it's all good. It's all fun.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts of your cartoons is like the kind of, it's always fun to hear the songs you're gonna.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
Yeah.
What is that YouTube or is that Spotify? Because I'm on Spotify too. Yeah, there's a Spotify. By the way, there'll be a Lars Lazarus soundtrack soon. I had one up for a while, but I'm kind of tweaking it. Speaking of tweaking, go check it out on Spotify. Tons of stuff. Thanks, Cory. Thanks for that. And hey, by the way, so if you're watching this after I say this date, then you're living in the future and you can go back and enjoy it. But on December 12th, 12/12, which is a Saturday, I believe, I'm going to do a premiere of the Lars Lazarus movie on YouTube. So it'll be a live premiere so people can jump in the chat. So I'll be advertising that and stuff. But we did that with All That Glitters, and it was fun. We had a ton of people online, and they were all watching it at the same time. So this will be a good one, hopefully. So
I think it will. I mean, I think the premises you come up with, like, because I think your art is strong, your animation's strong, your music is amazing, and it's like I was mentioning about like kind of Monty Python, where it's like some of the humor that I love the most is when it's like really fully committed to, and it's like you'll do a song in a genre where you just go all in, like so you'll like do a funk song and it's like Parliament level, like you are committed.
Yeah, my jokes don't have. I mean, I think I told Cory this when I first met him. My jokes don't have jokes.
Yeah,
it's just I like exaggeration.
Yeah,
and that's why it's funny. But
I love that. So I think there's a lot of that in this, and a lot of fun twists, and just the premise is such a it's a good premise. it's a good premise.
I was happy. I'm happy with the way it turned out. So I think people will like it, and hope you guys can join and watch the premiere.
Awesome.
And then who knows what'll happen with this, but we'll go from there.
I love it so much. So, so if you guys haven't, I mean, I'm pretty sure most of our viewers have checked out Jim's work, but if you haven't, go check out Jim's channel, check out his cartoons, be there for that premiere.
Oh yeah, Patreon. You can go to Patreon. You can watch Lars Lazarus right now, like 2 weeks before the rest of the world on my Patreon. It's just patreon.com/Jim Lujan. And you could give me $1,000 if you want. I'll be cool with it.
Is that one of the tiers?
If you don't have 1,000, you can give $1 million. It's okay. Like if that's not possible,
$1 million's greedy, but $500,000's not.
That's true. So. That's reasonable. We're reasonable people here.
Yes, I mean, support the arts.
I love it. So thank you so much, Jim, for coming on. I'm excited to see it edited and coming together, and I think it's going to be a fun one and another awesome kind of feature for you to add to your, like, you're going to have like a whole rack. I would say like back in the day, you could say like a rack of DVDs, but that's not going to exist anymore. So you're going to
a Netflix page.
Yeah. But I mean, it is kind of neat to see the library of your work, like kind of growing. And it's fun to see. So everybody check that out. before we go, Cory, is there anywhere you want people to go check out your work, that kind of thing?
Yeah, if you want to go to corykerr.com /animation, then you can see some of the stuff I've made.
I love it.
Ranges from political commentary to toilet humor, so something for everyone. There's the project that Josh and I made together. So yeah, go check that out. It's free.
Looking good.
I love it. And Cory, it's funny you talk about animation taking you a long time, but I remember when we started this thing, you didn't have a ton of animations under your belt. So
I didn't have any.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's pretty good output.
Some of these are 30 seconds long, so that helps make it look like a lot.
I love it. So I do not remember the link or anything for the mailing list, and I don't remember the spiel, but since Scott is gone, I will kind of do my best to say, if you guys are trying to keep track of the Artcasters, it kind of bounces from my channel to Scott Strickland's channel. And then sometimes like Cory's on, sometimes like it's on different days. It's hard to keep track. So the best way to keep track is to subscribe to our mailing list. There's a link in the show notes. So just go ahead and subscribe. We don't spam you or anything like that. We just usually will send you a note before we go live so that you can get a better idea of who's coming on the show and how soon it's going to be coming up so you don't miss the show. Thanks to everybody in the chats for joining us. And I would say, like, once again, check out Jim's channel, because it's just a wealth of awesome cartooning and actually really check it out on Amazon. That's amazing. So that being said, is there anything I missed? Did we cover everything? I think we covered everything.
Only thing we're missing is Scott Strickland.
That's true. We are missing Scott Strickland. We miss you, Scott.
Pay attention, Josh. Did you mention that people should be pre-ordering your book on Amazon?
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Please pre-order 2 stories on Amazon. It's a 122-page graphic novel about faith and mental illness. It is available for pre-order, and by pre-ordering it, you're kind of helping support indie comics and helping these things see the light of day. So please go do that.
Order now and get a free cat.
Yeah.
Oh, last thing. I got merchandise, guys.
Oh, yes.
I got merchandise.
Society 6, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me find that.
Ooh, Society 6 / Jim Lujan. I got merchandise, guys.
Dude,
go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal.
That is so great. I'm excited.
There's pillows and mugs. I don't have a mug on me, but there's a bunch of junk on there, man. You'll love it. You'll love it, guys. Go check it out. More pillows, too, on the way.
I wrote down the mug that I want to get, so I'm going to be going on Society 6 to buy one, because I need a Jim Lujan mug. It's not, my life is not full without that.
I've made, not even kidding, I've made at least like $8.
Oh,
so
you're gonna make more. You're gonna make
double digits pretty soon.
I mean, when the Atari was out, that's like a meal at a nice restaurant.
You know what, though? The thing is, it's not about the money. It's about when people have this pillow and make sweet love and rest their heads against the pillow afterwards. That's what it's all about.
Jim, I also, you have to make a T-shirt that says, "Thou shalt not steal my beats."
Yes.
Great.
There we go.
That's a great shirt.
Very hard.
All right, guys. Thanks again, Jim. Always a pleasure. And we will see you guys next week.
See you guys. Thanks, everybody. See you on YouTube, on Amazon, and other things.